Are you guys into sustainability or plastic bags? Which one are you guys here for? Just checking. To know. So this is the plastic bag mandala project, and I think it's still really relevant, even though it started in 2011 as a class project, but it kind of grew from there. And so I'm going to talk to you about where the plastic bag mandala has been and what we can do about this issue of single-use plastic bags. So why are single-use plastic bags such an issue? Well, because the US goes through 100 billion plastic bags, shopping bags annually. That's a lot. And how long are they used for on average? Just 12 minutes. And if it was made out of something that's biodegradable, that wouldn't be so bad. But it's made from petroleum, and only 1 out of 200 of those bags get recycled. So those aren't very good numbers in favor of single-use plastic bags. So how this project started was at Pratt Institute on the Manhattan campus. It was a design advocacy class headed by Gala Nerezzo in the fall of 2011. And this class, we tied up with, or rather worked with, a nonprofit called the Interdependence Project that was actually working on the single-use plastic bag issue for some years before we collaborated with them. And so through the class, we kind of analyzed the situation, and the students of the class came up with different solutions. So one of the solutions was the Right R, which is a plan to use non-GMO corn biodegradable bags, and that was presented by Lamise Harib, who you should look up. She's doing amazing things in Dubai. She started her own company and is bringing bioplastics into the Middle East. So she's really cool. And then me personally, my contribution to this project was an educational activity book for K-12 students called Plastic Bag, a Scrap It book. And then there was the star of the show, the Plastic Bag Mandala, which is an installation piece that was proposed by Juliana Rehani. So all these three components kind of tied in together, and you'll see how it developed over the years. And again, I think one thing that's really important about projects like this is to collaborate, to have different organizations and different advocates and supporters in whatever you're trying to get done. And so although we started with just one nonprofit, that's the Interdependence Project, as we grew and as we went from one event to the other, we teamed up with Bags for the People, Grow NYC, the Farmers Market, and institutions like PS41 that also were driven by the same issue. And over the years, our squad grew some more, and it involved the Green School Alliance, Surf Riders Foundation, and even a lawyer named Jenny Roma, who is really spearheading changing the laws around plastic bags. And so how does this art installation piece work? So when we set it up at the first event at the farmers market, it looked like that. It was pretty blank. And if you saw it outside, right now it's really full. And that took a lot of time, 6 years, and it was kind of added on bit by bit. So what happened was the public was invited at the farmers market to bring their used plastic bag and tie it into the mandala. And in that, or rather for that, they would be given a new reusable tote bag so that they don't have to use single-use plastic bags anymore. And while they weave the single-use plastic bag into the mandala, they were asked to make a promise to themselves and their families or whoever they care about to try and do their best to not use single-use plastic bags anymore. And then, of course, we also provided information on facts and figures and asked them to sign a petition to then take to legislation. And so that was happening at the farmers market, but also the educational component is where we asked the students of PS41 to come with their families and participate in the installation piece after we had done a workshop with them in school. So kind of tying those two components together. And why a mandala is because the mandala is a symbolic representation of our connection, of our interdependence, and how that we all have a stake in each other's futures. We can't do this alone. And our problems are everyone's problems. We're not siloed into different groups. And so we really need to band together to make a change. And so I thought that was a really powerful symbol to incorporate in the project. And this is the other part of the project that I worked on called the Scrap It book. And what this is an activity book that teaches students to think about the system around single-use plastic bags. So it was written with the help of my sister, who is a special educator and reading therapist, and so she's more involved in curriculum design and things like that. So this activity book came with teachers' instructions so that it could be used effectively in the classroom. And what's great about this book, the thing that I really like, is that it starts with a pledge. So the students stand up with this book and they say, with this book in hand, I hereby pledge to understand, to make a change, to make a choice, to take a stand, and to have a voice. So this really empowers the kids, no matter how young they are. It's important for them to know that they have a choice and they make their decisions in understanding and not just being told what is right or wrong. One of the activities in the book is comparing a plastic bag with a banana peel. So over here, they write their name on the plastic bag and they carve their name on a banana peel. So that ownership is there for both these items. And with the help of their teachers, they dig a hole in the school garden, put it in, and they go and check on it every couple of weeks or so to see how the earth takes back what's natural and what's not. And in the end, they make a promise on what they choose to do. So that's just a bit about the activity book. And so that happened in the classroom at Pratt, but the main chunk of this project happened outside of the classroom. It was after the fall of 2011. And the people that's really spearheaded and took this project on was, of course, Gala Narizo, who headed the class, and Chantel and myself. And so we really worked on the project and making connections and taking it out to events and people who wanted to share in this message and spread this message. So this is kind of a timeline of how it evolved. So from fall 2011, it started just as a class project. And then the green lines are all the places that the actual installation has been to. And the blue is the workshops that were developed from the educational activity book. And so I'm just going to quickly go through that, all the events that happened there. And so this was at the Green Market, and this was our first event. As you can see, it's just kind of starting up. And so here, there's someone exchanging their plastic bag for a reusable tote, and then making a promise, to tie the plastic bag in the mandala and to not use it again. And of course, I was talking about, giving out information and getting students involved from school. And also we had a little activity for the younger kids, decorating mandalas, just something fun to get the kids involved. This was the workshop at PS41, where we kind of did a kiddie version of what we're going to do later today, which is upcycle old t-shirts into reusable tote bags. And so this was kind of the outcome of that. And then in the summer of 2012, we went to this really fabulous art festival called Figment. And over here, it was great to see how different characters from different backgrounds all kind of shared the same purpose and, supported the project. At New Green City, again, we continued providing information. And we had this guy who is 99% candy, sign his name on it, and that was also cool. This was the kids at the Waldorf Hartridge School in New Jersey doing the project with the banana peels and the plastic bags. And the school also got the books to keep in their library so that the teachers can use it, in future years and semesters. So that was really great. Now this is Idea City, where the project kind of evolved. So far we had the plastic bag mandala, the installation piece, and the educational activity book. And Gala and Chantel decided to create a to-go bag in New York, when everyone's so busy, everyone has such a disposable plastic life, everyone's taking things to go all the time, and everything's disposable, your plastic bags, your spoons, your containers. So how do we create a project to remind people to really think about their habits on a daily basis? And so the To-Go Bag project was kind of launched at Idea City, where kids were, called to decorate the to-go bag and think about what they're going to put in their bag and to kind of carry that wherever they go. And so this was a school called the Our Planet International School, all the way in Muscat, Oman, and that's where I kind of moved to. And so even though I was far away from New York, I managed to kind of spread the message in schools across the world. And that school was about sustainability, and so they were really thrilled about having the activities and learning about plastic bags, or rather to not use plastic bags, all the way in Muscat. And this was the Children's Museum of the Arts, where Gala and Chantel had this wonderful exhibition called Aware and Awake, where they spoke about how you need to really be mindful and aware of who you are and what your values are before you can be a true activist or have a voice. So this was a whole beautiful mandala of the steps in the process of Aware and Awake. And of course, the plastic bag mandala was also there as a supporting piece of the exhibition. And this final event that the plastic bag mandala was at was the Rudolf Steiner Fall Fair, where the theme of the school fair was sustainability. So I was part of the thought process and the PTA meetings, and the parents and the teachers were really trying to make sure that the whole process, from sourcing of materials and the gifts that the kids are going to get at the fall fair, were all sustainable or have the least carbon footprint. And so it was really great to see a school investing so much time and energy into being sustainable and making it part of their process. And so we were not sure whether this would be the perfect fit for that fair, because everything in a Waldorf school is so natural and earthy. But what was great is that this piece was kept outside of the school, and so this was a reminder to kind of leave your plastic bags outside and then enter this extremely sustainable earth-loving fair on the inside. So that's how it was part of the fall fair at Rudolf Steiner. So with all of this that has happened from 2011 to 2016, and knowing that plastic bags aren't that great, why hasn't New York banned the bag? And so I don't know if you guys are aware of it or not, but we were supposed to have a 5-cent fee for carry-out bags at retailers. But fast forward to earlier this year, it was bagged and it didn't go through. The reasons for it not going through are arguments that can be supported or not. It's a very complex issue. And so we're still fighting the good fight, I think. And so that's why I think this project is still really important, because people still say, oh, but I need my plastic bag. The need, quote unquote, is very subjective, and we need to learn how to not need things that we really don't need, if that makes sense. And so throughout these years, and that was just yesterday, there was a plastic bag stuck outside at Pratt. So these things are everywhere. What I've learned these years is that you have to go out and speak to people. You can't, if you have a great idea, if you care about something, go out and speak to them and see what they think about it. Have a conversation with it, and just do what you're really passionate about. Single-use plastic bags isn't the biggest thing that's threatening our planet. It is, but it's not the biggest thing. But you pick something that you're truly passionate about or that you believe in, and go after that and try and make that change. Take chances and tell people about what you're doing. Sometimes they'll agree with you, sometimes they won't. I remember at the Green Market, the first time, at the Farmers Market, the first event that we had, we were giving out all the information and talking about the Mandala project, and this older woman came up to me and she was like, "What are you going to do with all these plastic bags?" And I'm like, "We're putting it in this mandala." And she's like, "And then what are you going to do? Then you're just going to throw it out and the recycling program is not working." And she started shouting at me and like with anger. And I was just like, okay. And inside my head, I was like, don't cry or don't shout, because she was really like angry and it was just directed at me and I didn't know what to do. And so I listened to her and I said, you're right, the system is broken. Would you like to join us? Because I can see that you're so passionate about this project or about this issue. Would you like to help us make our project better? And she left. So, she had a lot of things to say, a lot of faults to point out, but not many people are willing to convert their concerns into action. So, and I think that's what's most important. And it is a complex problem, nothing's easy. And so therefore, it's really okay to not have all the answers. And that shouldn't stop you from doing anything. And while you know that you don't have all the answers, always listen and be ready to pivot and change your direction. And also, as we've learned in the past couple of months, be informed and re-inform yourself, because you don't know what's happening until you really do your research. So that's what I've kind of learned. And questions before we go into the fun project? Anyone? Yes.
I don't know much about the topic, but what were some of the concerns people had about taking
Away?
away?
What am I going to pick up my dog's poop with? What will I line my garbage with? I don't want to pay money for plastic bags. Just what am I going to do without a disposable plastic bag? And I think people they have reasons to ask those questions, but there are solutions for that. Bring your reusable bag, but what if I forget it? It's okay, it's a habit that, you might forget it sometimes. I forget it sometimes, but that's okay. But people, have those concerns. Yes?
Yeah, actually, to add to your answer to that question, we're actually interning with the Department of Sanitation right now, and
Okay.
our office was, we're one of the main offices that was working on getting that banned, but it ended up being that they felt it would be targeting low-income households. Although, a lot of people, they would not have the ban for people on SNAP.
Yes.
And it was something else, WIC. SNAP
Yes.
and WIC, they wouldn't have that charge, but they also acknowledge that you can be very poor without still not being able to qualify for SNAP or WIC. So,
Right.
I guess the idea of you can still be in poverty or struggle to pay for all those bags if you were to go grocery shopping, but not qualify, that was the biggest issue with the ban not going through.
Right, and so I did read up on, the actual law and all it states, and one of the points is that it doesn't, go over people who are on stamps or extremely low-income communities. It's not for bodega. For food carts, or if you're selling produce, you can still use a plastic bag. So it's all these things. So it's not really that strict a ban. And I think some people are saying that it's caused problems because you're calling it a tax, where it's a fee, and where is this money going to? And so people are like, why is it going to the retailers? It should go somewhere else. But then the retailers have to provide reusable bags, and that's an investment that they have to make to their, and for their overheads and things like that. So it's a balance, and it's a complex issue. You had a question?
Yeah, I was going to just add to what they were saying that I actually found out about the bill that was moving from bag to bag tax. And I live in the district with Simcha Felder, who proposed that bill. And my district just had like overwhelming support for bagging the tax. And I emailed my representative, and he actually called me personally to talk about it. And he said, I'm interested in hearing your views, but I will be voting to drop the tax because that's what the support is. And it just sort of made me realize how much like representatives, are, especially at the local level, are so responsive to people getting involved. And so like, in 2018, if we're trying to like push it forward again, it's worth calling your representatives and like getting involved because they do really respond to it.
I think that's a great point, is, taking action, calling, making your voice heard, writing letters, making installation art, I guess. So yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, do you have like an archive of all the different mandalas that you've created, or?
So it's just one mandala that's been traveling around all this while.
I asked her, I was like, where do you store this thing?
Yeah. So, and so that's the thing about this mandala piece, it's a traveling interactive installation piece, because all our little actions add up to one big mandala. And I think that's what the installation piece represents, is that your plastic bags are not going anywhere. They're just kind of adding up. And the people who put it in at the farmer's market in 2011 are connected to you right now because it's outside this building in 2017. So I think that's the message that we're trying to get across with the mandala. Yes.
Actually, we didn't know about this when we planned the event, but Envirolutions, the sustainability club on campus that I'm part of, for Green Week this coming week on Thursday, we're collecting bags and giving people reusable bags and building an installation on the main ramp.
Really?
Yeah, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of, so would you like to partner up with the mandala?
Yeah, I think because we were wondering what to do with the bags, we were thinking of weaving
Right.
it into some net or something.
And so that's, I guess, the next step of this mandala project is, what are we going to do with this huge installation piece? And, I wanted to kind of either have a competition or ask the public what we can repurpose this as. Is it going to be a huge Lady Gaga dress to make a statement at her next event, or, be converted into this huge poofy, or put in resin and cut into like tabletops, or, how is this going to live on in another form and, still send that message across? So I guess that's where we're going to go next, or if it's just going to travel around some more and like kind of grow, I mean, that's also an option. So we're always looking for people who are interested in this project to take it on and kind of display it where they are and kind of get that message and keep it going. So, yeah. Thanks. And so now, if you guys want to stay on, what is this? We are going to, why is this not working? Something's up with that. So one of the projects that we did is making reusable tote bags out of old t-shirts that you don't want to wear anymore. And we did that with the school kids, but what we can do is the same thing, but more fun. So I don't know if you guys got your old t-shirts, but we have a whole pile at the back. If you guys want to stick around and do this fun workshop, we can clear the chairs and kind of sit on the floor and do some fun craft stuff. There are stencils involved and lots of colors. So can we set up?
Yeah.